Hello, my name is Ron Bose, and I'm one of the CTF organizers for B-Sides San Francisco 2021. This is going to be a video walkthrough of one of my challenges called logemall, which is a Pokemon-style collect them all challenge, where your goal is to collect, or at least see, all 151 Eskimon characters. So if you were playing the CTF about 20 days ago when we ran it, you would see our scoreboard like this, with a logemall challenge. Logemall was solved by 3 different teams: Nop Nop Goose, Perfect Blue, and Fungible Tokens. So congratulations to those teams. If you were playing while the server was still up, this is the netcat command you would use to connect, but because the game's been over for a while, we've shut down the servers. So instead, if you want to run a server, you can just use our Docker file. So BSidesSF/CTF 2021 release is our source code for all of our challenges, and the ones with server-side components do have Docker files. So if you find logemall specifically, and then go into the challenges directory, you will see a Docker file. This is all you need, and obviously the code with it, to run the challenge yourself. So I've already checked out the code, and as I said, the Docker file will let you run it yourself. So I'll just run docker build and docker run. Docker build obviously will build the Docker container, and docker run will run it forwarding port 666, which is the port the game uses. If you aren't sure which port is used by a specific challenge, just check out the README file that's in each directory, or the metadata file. So once it's running, you should be able to netcat to localhost on that port and get a copy of the game. This is exactly what you would see if you were playing against a real server. So the first thing is, let's do a quick walkthrough of the game. So what would you like to be known as? Ron. And which starting Eskimon would you like? Plant frog, fire lizard, or water turtle? So which is your favorite? Let's try fire lizard. Wow, that looks not at all familiar. We could also try water turtle, or we could try plant frog. Now, a bit of an Easter egg that I didn't mention here is that I don't actually validate which one you choose. So if you know the name of others, you can choose them if you like. Let's take a look at that by, first of all, going into the game, moving over to the PC over here, and seeing a list of all the names. So there's, water turtle and stuff that we just saw. There's butterfly, there's bee, there's a pigeon, fancier pigeon, and so on. One of my favorites is Fire, who's one of the legendaries. So let's just get through this and quit the game for a second. So we're going to be Ron, and we're going to try Fire. Fire is one of the legendary birds. You can also use Missing though, which you might recognize from other exploits. That doesn't actually help you any. It's just a neat little Easter egg that's there. Alright, so let's just use Fire because it's easier. Now we're in the game world. You're at Professor Jack's lab. You see a PC, which you've already seen, and you see the professor. If we talk to the professor, we get a little bit of dialogue. He says hi to you. He introduces himself, and he asks you to log all the Eskimon, and then come back and talk to him. So that's exactly what we're going to do eventually. So if we go out through the door, we're going to see a little town. This is a town of color, not to be confused with a palette. And we can move around, and we can go through various areas. I forgot what this is called. And combat. I'm going to expand this window a little bit so you can see the combat better. We are fighting a caterpillar. What would you like to do? Let's attack it. You attack for 8 damage, it hits you for 2 damage, and so on. You can just keep pressing enter to repeat the command over and over again. Eventually we kill it. Would you like to replace it? No. We like ours. So we can move around. There's a whole bunch of different areas. I don't want to go through the whole game, but I will go through the Viridian Forest. Gray City. This is one of my favorite areas here. In the other game this is based on, there's a museum in the city. So I thought I'd put an Eskimon museum. But the museum is just the ASCII table. This is not meaningful for the game. It's just a fun little flavor. There's lots of flavor in this game. I tried to make it really interesting. So that's basically the game in a nutshell. So my goal for this bug was to kind of recreate a popular bug from Missing No, as I already mentioned. I have here the Bulbapedia entry for the Missing No bug. So what happens in the real game is that when you're first doing a tutorial, there's a little battle that's done between the old man and a wild Weedle. Now for this little battle, this is the old days of memory management, and what they would do is they would have the fight where they would take your name in memory and replace it with the old man's name, and then do the fight, and then restore it. The problem is your name needs to be temporarily stored somewhere, and since these are days before like alloc and stuff, or malloc rather, they would do things like copy your name to the encounter table, then do the fight, and then copy your name back to the encounter table to your name, and then carry on. Then when you enter the next zone, it just loads their encounter table, replaces your name, and everything's fine. The problem is, there's one area in Cinnabar Island where there's no encounter table. They forgot to load one. That means that if you start wandering through there after the old man fights for you, it will it will use your name as the encounter table, and because your name is not a valid encounter table, it will cause strange bugs. So I tried to recreate that as a CTF challenge. So before we actually exploit this, let's take a quick look at the binary. So in the disk files folder, I gave logemall and I gave a sample of data. I'm just going to ignore the sample data since I have the real data here. But if you were actually playing, you would need to use this to run a local server. Instead, I'm going to take a logemall binary and run strings on it. So if you run strings on the binary, you're going to see a lot of the system commands it uses. Nothing too exciting out of the ordinary. As you scroll down, you're going to see some of the data directories. These are kind of cut off because of how I open the files. It's not a big deal. But what you're eventually going to see is available commands, wasd, help, and quit. If you were playing the game and ran help, this is what you would see. But you're also going to see some other commands, like flying to various cities, encounters on off, encounters show hide. These are all hidden quality of life commands. You don't necessarily need these to solve the challenge, but reversing it just enough, like I just did, to see these are really helpful. I'm going to move these to my other monitor, but keep them visible because I might actually need them. So let's connect to the game again. I'm going to be Ron. I'm going to play with fire. I'm going to say I'm sure. So first off, I'm going to go and have an encounter. It appears that this encounter is necessary to get things to work right. Memory, I should mention this is a use after free bug. So use after frees are notoriously difficult to actually exploit. And I tried to make this as simple as possible for the purpose of the challenge. So I'm going to fight the caterpillar. I'm not going to replace my Pokemon, my Askimon, but I will finish the fight. Now from here, you would have to explore obviously to find these things, but I know from experience, I need to fly to Deep Blue. Deep Blue is a town that has on the right hand side, in the original game this would be Bill's house, but I made this Ron's house. That's me. And these various circles are all Rons who will give you a little bit of hints. In particular, they mention once again that you have to collect all 151 Pokemons, Askimons, to get the flag. Also, they mention the PC and they mention the secret fight command, which is one of the other hidden commands I have. And it mentions there's also other quality of life commands. So I really wanted to make this like hinty, give you lots of hints. Speaking of hidden commands, let's actually turn encounters to show. You'll see a new UI element saying no encounters here. If we walk to an area that has encounters, we're going to see chance to encounter 4%, and the 3 encounters and their numbers that we might encounter. The last thing I should mention is this R here. This is a rename character. He's the official name rater. He'll rate your nickname and let you change your nickname. Remember that I was trying to make a vulnerability involving your name, so keep that in mind. So here we're going to trigger a fight. We're going to fight an enraged Siamese cat. We're going to attack until it's dead. And then we're going to replace our fire legendary with this cat. Now we have our companion, which is a Siamese cat. He's number 53, or she. And the encounter table still has Pony, number 77, a wild Siamese cat, 53, and a pitcher plant, number 69. So now we're going to do a second encounter. This is where the bug is going to get triggered. So we're going to fight a pitcher plant. We're going to attack. And eventually we're going to defeat it. And you're victorious. Would you like to replace it? Yes. Now when I replace it, it's going to free the cat that I had as my companion, and in doing so, it's also going to incorrectly free the cat that was in the encounter table. And now the second encounter on the encounter table is pointing to memory that's been freed. The memory that's been freed just happens to have 3, 7, 1, etc. as part of it. Now if I do the encounter or leave this area and the encounter triggers, it's going to have some weird behavior or probably crash with a use after free bug or a double free bug or something. However, what we can do is talk to the renamer. He's going to get rid of nickname, say that we're Ron, and what would you like it to be? I'm going to set a bunch of A's. So you want to change Ron to A's? Yes. And now suddenly we have an encounter table entry that is my nickname. So the first field is a bunch of A's. The number field, if you convert this from decimal to hex, is going to be 414141, which is also AAAA. And these are all zeros because they're past the A's. The A's aren't enough to hit those. If we talk to the renamer again and change the name to something else, every second one is not going to do anything because it's a it frees, it allocates then frees, then allocates then frees. So for each given name change, it allocates a second block and frees the first. This was done mostly to make it exploitable more easily. So this one is going to be the second one allocated, and we're going to end up with freed memory again. So this is again freed garbage memory. But if we rename again, let's change our name this time to just a single A. Yes. Now the Pokemon's name, or the name of it, is blank, but the number is 65, which represents A. Now if we do a fight, an enraged blank draws near. Wow, you haven't seen a blank before, you make a note. So, and of course, we immediately are victorious because it has 0 hit points. And we're not going to replace it. If we actually capture the blank, I'm not sure what would happen, but it probably wouldn't be good. So now that we've seen one, let's turn encounters off because I don't want to accidentally encounter something. And go back to Ron's house. Ron's house has a PC in it. We're going to go talk to the PC. And we're going to see now we've encountered a Siamese cat, which we legitimately encountered in the wild. We encountered Harry Houdini, number 65, which we've never seen. That was our fake encounter we did. And then number 69, Pitcher Plant, we have logged. And, oh yeah, Fire, of course, our starter we logged. So we've now encountered a Pokemon in the wild that doesn't actually exist anywhere in the game, except, of course, in the PC and in memory. So that's basically the vulnerability, is to do that 151 times, essentially, which is obviously a little bit long. Let's, I have a window over here. Let's go back to this one with the solution. So my solution file is just a simple solve.rb. Let me open it over here. Bring it back. So after it loads, what we're going to see is that it connects a socket. I have a bunch of code that just does receives and fighting. This is all pretty bad code. It's just enough to make it work, as an exploit often is, but I'm not super proud of it. So here's what you're actually going to see. So it connects to the server, it runs the command run, it selects the fire starter, it confirms, it turns on the encounter table, it flies to color, it does a bunch of moving, this fight attack is kind of a macro that will fight the caterpillar. I should also mention there's no RNG in this game. It uses a static seed of 1337, so no matter what you do, it's always going to be the exact same encounters in the exact same order. Technically, I could have made it random, but it wouldn't have really added anything. Then it's going to fly a deep blue, it's going to move, it's going to capture a pony, it's going to capture a Siamese cat, and that second capture, just like before, is going to trigger the actual vulnerability. Then 151 times, it's going to capture everything except for number 10. Number 10 is a caterpillar. Caterpie is obviously the other game that we don't talk about. And then it's going to skip number 146 because that's fire. And after each time, it's going to change our name to the character that it wants to capture, and then it's going to name it high just so we see something happening. Then it's going to fight and run and repeat. That's pretty much it for the exploit. Let me run it over here. Here we go. Solve. We're going to run solve against localhost 666, and that's going to run very quickly, but we don't want it to be that quick. I gave it a parameter that lets me adjust the speed. So let's just do speed 1 second delay per move right now. So it's going to choose, it's going to turn the encounter table on, It's going to fly to the closest place to a caterpillar. It's going to very slowly move up. You know, let's adjust that speed down just a little bit. 0.5. Turn the counter table on. Move around. It's going to do the fight. It's going to win the fight. I don't think I actually have to beat this fight. I just have to see it, but it doesn't really matter. It was just as easy to fight it. Then it's going to move around. It's going to go to the renamer. This is all done hands-free, of course. It's going to fight the pony, and so on and so on. I don't want to sit here for 20 minutes while it does this, so I'm going to set this delay to, I think 0.1 is still enough that it'll work very quickly. I'm going to shrink that down and let that run over here and let it do its thing. In the meantime, I'm just going to, we captured number 1, we captured number 2, we captured number 3, and so on. So I'll let that keep going. I'll let it sit in the corner there. Well, this is running. I'll show you a couple of the Easter eggs that I added because I think they're kind of cool. So there's a town called Indigo. Indigo, fly Indigo. Oh, you can't fly there, that's right. Fly, oh, what did I call it? This is where I did my my tutorial, my strings tutorial. It is called, let's just walk there. We'll fly to the color area. Then we're gonna walk to the plateau. We have lots of time while the exploit runs in the background. We're gonna go to the cave. Oh yeah, I have the counter turned off too, which is gonna make this extra easy. And here we are, the teal plateau. Of course, indigo becomes teal. So from the teal plateau, we see the Elite Four, 1, 3, 3, 7. And each of them has its own little dialogue. Some kid came by. We weren't prepared for youthful strategies. In our day, we could work hard and get ahead. These days, you've got to be born lucky. I wish the world revolved around us, the way it revolves around red and blue. You know, obviously breaking the fourth wall just a little bit. However, if you try to actually go through the doors into the final fight from the original game, there's a barricade. Uh-oh. There's exciting fighting. This is kind of a last minute change. I used to just have this barricade here, and if you went through the door, you would just run into run back to the starting area because it was invalid. But I decided it'd be fun to add a little bit of flavor. So let's remember it's called teal. We'll fly to dark blue, fly to deep blue. We'll move up 1 and then fly back to teal. Now we're on the barricade and we can walk through the door. If we do walk through the door, we're going to see the red versus blue fight. If we try to talk to red, he says, "Can't you see I'm busy fighting blue?" Press enter. If you fight blue, it's going to say, "Can't you see I'm busy fighting red?" Alright, if we talk to the versus sign, it says, "Watching red and blue fight is all fun and games, but you have a feeling you're in the wrong place. But since you made it here, have you found all the hidden quality of life commands? They aren't required, but they're helpful." This is once again just me making sure I'm constantly hinting to the players. Like maybe you came here thinking this was the solution, but this is just an Easter egg. The solution is actually to capture them all and then talk to Jack. So I tried to mention, if you talk to NPCs throughout the game, there'll be other hints and mentions of the quality of life commands and of what you need to do. So we're up to number 58 on our exploit. So while that's running, let's just kill that. Do I have another window? I don't want to kill the server, so let's just cd to projects, CTF release, and then log them all, challenge, and then here, this is stuff we did not give away when we're actually running the game, but it's things that I think you might enjoy as you're learning how the game works. So if you look at the data directory, you'll see all the various artwork. Then you'll see, let's cat data/100.txt. This is just the artwork. 101, 102, and so on. You can also cat data slash the CSV, whatever I called it. So you can, it's all the stats. So you can make your own mod to this game if you really want. And then the maps directory is just all the names of the maps. If you cat them, like let's cat color, you'll see the first line is the name. the second line is a one-line description that you'll see. Then the next 4 lines are the up, down, left, right map names, and then the rest of it is just a map, literally as ASCII. And I actually designed these maps using a spreadsheet on Google Maps. So this is what the maps look like when I actually made them. I took all these maps, exported it to a CSV file, then I cleaned it up a little bit to make it work better. So all of this was designed in Google Sheets, of all places. So that's what the maps look like. What else do I have? I have encounters. So let's see the encounters table. These are the encounters for each of the areas that has encounters. If you cat them, let's just cat route 3. All you see is the odds of having an encounter. I'm not really sure why I made this configurable, but the odds are always 4. And then you can have up to 8 different encounters in that section. So the 3 encounters are sparrow, rattlesnake, and rat. I don't think there's any particular encounter, anything that has more than 3 or 4 encounters. So that's the data for it. Let's take a look at the source. So I'm just going to open this up in VI, in NVim actually. I see we're up to number 101 here, so we're 2/3 of the way there. So if you look to the source, you'll see a whole lot of C code and a lot of really, so-so C code. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. Here's the hidden commands, the drawing functions and so on. You'll see lots and lots of code that is repeated here. What I think is the most interesting is encounters.c, because encounters.c has the vulnerability. So this is the encounter handler. This is how it handles input, the attack, defend, run, etc. I should also mention the attack, defend, and run formulas are actually the exact ones from the original Pokemon games. I don't know if anybody reverse engineered them. This is the disposition's all my stuff, just to make it more interesting. But the actual formulas I use for the encounters, calculate damage, for example, this is just from the Pokemon wiki from Pokemon Red and Blue. The encounter, the run chance, the chance of running. Oh yeah, this is kind of funny. There's a 1 in 256 chance that you just miss. There's no missing in this game. All accuracy of your attack move is 100%, except for the 1 in 2 to the 8th chance of missing, which is loyal to the original game, which always had a 1 in 2 to the 8th chance of missing, just due to a programming bug. The damage calculations are original. The run, the chances of running, this line here, this is from the original game as well. So I thought I'd be loyal as much as I could to the original games. I thought it'd be kind of fun. Then here, when you finish the encounter, the enemy's blank fades. You're victorious. Would you like to replace yours? Yes or no? If you say yes, it assigns character companion to the enemy directly. Note that it doesn't clone the enemy or anything like that. If this was like a high-level language, you would expect to see .clone in Ruby, Python, Rust, Go, etc. But in C, you would expect at least to see a memcopy or something along those lines. But it doesn't do that. It just directly references it. And then when you always already have a companion. You can never have a blank companion without exploiting a bug. So it frees your current companion. That means if you capture a second enemy and then it frees your current enemy, that will also free it from the encounter table. And that's exactly what we saw, where it frees it while it's being used and creates a use after free bug. So that's pretty much the main source code. If you look to the rest, it's going to be a lot of just making the game work. There's probably off by 1 bugs and stuff like that. I think logemall.c, you're going to see the bug where you can choose any, here's your starting Eskimon. Which ones would you like? And then it loads, it does no checks whatsoever to make sure it's one of the 3. And I see that this just finished. It went back to Professor Jack and talked to him. And now that you've seen all 151 wild Eskimons, he will now say, wow, you've logged them all. And he gives you the flag. I just keep repeating this. I'm going to kill this as soon as it shows the flag. Wow, that's all in his claims, and reaches into his pack. This is for you, and the flag. And this is the solution. So this game, largely, you could solve this by hand. You could go through and do all 151 yourself. But my intention was that you would probably stumble on this bug at some point, accidentally, just by capturing things. and then exploit it by writing a little script like this. So that's pretty much all I have. Thank you for watching this video, and yeah, feel free to play this game. I think it's a really fun one to work on and to solve yourself. Have a good day.